Hello, can I start?
Sir, सगळे
मी कसं काय सांगू सर? नाही सरांना फोन लावा ना किंवा तिथे बघा चेक करा.
कुंभार सर, इको येतोय.
Yes, sir.
इको येतोय.
हो, हो. Yes,
येस
yes.
सो हा येस दोन्ही
Yes, yes.
जवळ नको.
नाही नाही ओके.
येस गुड मॉर्निंग अक्षय.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Very good, sir. How about you?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. After like actually on that day I could not able to discuss with you.
Yeah.
What is position in US regarding Corona?
Better than India?
Better than India somehow.
Yeah.
Yes, well
Yeah,
managed
few
and well.
cities,
Yes.
yeah, few cities still have the problem like the one where I,
Okay.
wherever mostly tourists are there, that cities have problems. But
Okay,
that's-
okay, okay, okay.
मी थोडस सांगून मी स्टार्ट करून देतो ना.
कुंभार सर, बाकीच्या
इंट्रोडक्टरी वर्ड साठी तुम्हाला सांगतो ना.
कुंभार सर, ऍक्च्युली बाकीच्यांना म्यूट करून घ्या. कोण कंट्रोल करताय तर सो अदर पीपल शुड बी ऑन म्यूट. ओके, एक्सेप्ट अँड युअर टर्मिनल अँड काइंडली check that there is audio disturbance is there. So sir आलेत का? You can immediately start. So
yes sir. Kapse sir, shall I start?
रेकॉर्डिंग वगैरे बघून घ्याल का? Yes,
Okay. Doesn't start.
Yes, sir, audible. Perfectly audible. Yes.
Hello.
Kumbar sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Kumar sir, are you host for today's?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
No, sir. Yes. Shall I start, sir?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you start. And I will
Okay.
join at. I will join for conclusion of program.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Oh, sir.
Before that, I would like to welcome Mr. Akshay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Akshay, I'll be happy to hear you here. And really, it's a really appreciable journey from a small gully of Chickley to California. Okay. And
Yes,
I'm very eager to listen. I'm very eager to listen you. Okay. And I will join you at the end of this program. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good morning to all of you. Myself, Professor Nilesh Kumbar, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all my dear students, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Nannai sir, Head of Department, Information Technology, Dr. Kapse sir, and today's eminent speaker, Mr. Akshay Rudraksh. Dear students, since last year, we are carrying out online activities for the welfare of the students. We are constantly organizing guest lectures, webinars, and online workshops to upgrade our students even in this corona pandemic situation. As a part of this today, we have here our distinguished alumni, Mr. Akshay Rudraksh, 2005 batch pass out from Information Technology branch. Now currently working as Senior Manager at CCC Information Services, Los Angeles. He is having experience more than 15 years and work on various technologies as well. Dear students, if you have gone through this today's webinar topic, it's cross-platform development with Flutter. And I am very much sure that this webinar will be helpful for those who is having more interest in app development. Now, I would like to request our Head of Department, Dr. Kapse sir, to share his introductory words about this webinar. Kapse sir.
Thank you, Kumbar sir. Good morning, all of you. Today I am going to. It's my privilege to extend my warm welcome to our beloved principal sir, Dr. Arun Nannai sir, and our today's guest as a speaker, Mr. Akshay Rudraksh, who is Senior Manager at CCC Information Services, Los Angeles. He is currently working at there, and he is our alumni of 2005 batch IT branch, and he is having more than 15-year experience in software development. I heartily welcome to Mr. Akshay Rudraksh. I request him to share your views regarding the cross-platform development with Flutter. Okay, I welcome Mr. Akshay. Start your presentation.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. I think host has to enable me as a participant because I cannot share my screen right now. Right. Let me try that out.
Kumbar sir, who is the host?
Kapse, sir.
Actually, ask him to allow to multiple participants to share the screen. Yes, please. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, who is there? Bhatkar sir, you please mute your mic. Mute your mic. So there has been other parts. Yes.
Hello, Akshay.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me? Now you can share your PPTs.
Yep.
Now you can share your PPTs.
Yeah. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. No.
Not yet. Okay. 1 second. All right. Is it visible now?
Now it's yes.
Yes. Started.
Right. Let me put that in presentation mode. So, okay. Hello, everyone. I think Nilesh sir and Kapse sir already introduced me a little bit and about the topic we'll be covering today. My name is Akshay Rudraksh, and we'll be covering cross-platform application development with Flutter and the current technologies which are in the market and why Flutter is better. How should you start with Flutter and what are the opportunities you have, the market share? We can discuss all those topics today. Before that, I was asked by Kapse sir to talk about myself before I start. I didn't have much to talk about that. I am from Chikli, basically passed out. If you look at this picture, you see one of the guy in the last bench. That's me in the class. Maybe you can count yourself. I was one of the last benchers in the class. So I'm not like as a topper or anyone. I'm just like a regular student, like everyone. Maybe Valsi sir was my teacher and he knows me better because he thrown his chalk many times at me. So I think he probably remember those things that I was a last bencher there. About my experience, I've been working in an IT industry after passing out 2005. I've been working on the various technologies. I started my career with a company called iEmployee. Back in India, I was working as a QA engineer there, and then I shifted from QA to automation engineer. Then every 2 years or a year, I got a new opportunity. So I started with QA automation engineer. Then I changed my profile to a developer. Then I started writing ETLs, and eventually I started managing all the automation and development work for CCC. Across the year, I've been working on various technology, and right now the hot topic, which is Flutter, we are covering today. Now, many of you been working on or using the cell phones, and you have various apps on your phone. Have you guys ever wondered what those apps are? They basically are either a native app, a hybrid app, or a web app. Now, to give you best examples, if you consider like a default your phone's app like Samsung or any shopping apps, they are based. Most of them are native apps. Like TikTok, you can consider that's a native app. Now, hybrid app are apps which are built on the web platform as well as the native. Now,
Akshay, sorry to disturb you. Please start your recording.
Oh, do I need to start recording?
Yes.
Okay, let me do that.
Go ahead, setting.
I think the recording is already started.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I just see the option resume recording. Okay.
Yes. Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Akshay.
All right.
Continue, please.
Okay. So I was talking about the native, hybrid, and web app. So native apps are apps which are supporting only the native content, means those apps only work on the mobile platform. If you want to use them as a web, you can't use them. So you have to build a website for that. And then on that website, you build a different application. Like you have two different code base. One is for mobile application and one is for the web platform. In 2014, Facebook started the initiative of hybrid app. Hybrid app are basically apps which works as the web as well as the native app. So it is having combination of both. Now, these are nothing but the cross-platform apps. The hybrid apps is what we're going to be covering in today's topic. And the third are the HTML apps. Those are apps which are also called progressive apps. They are built as web pages, but you can save those web pages on your phone as an app icon. But when you launch that icon, it is basically opening a web page. It's not touching to your phone, or it doesn't take any memory in your phone. It just creates a shortcut on your phone, which you launch. So these are the three different apps right now, or environment right now, where all the apps are built. Now, there are two major platform or operating systems in the market. One is Apple's iOS, which uses Swift language, and then there is a Android platform which uses Java and Kotlin. Now, Kotlin is again new. I think after a few years, Google will stop supporting that, because all the Google developers are moving to Flutter. But Java will still be continued. But right now, majority of the work is done in Java and Kotlin, whereas in Apple iOS, it's Swift and Objective-C. Now, why does industry having hard time with native apps, and why do we need a cross-platform apps? Imagine you're working in a company and you need apps, or you need team. So if you are a large company, you need to build a native version of app. You need to build a web version of app. And if you are having your product like a counter sell or any shop, you need to build a desktop version of. So you have to maintain three different kind of developers, three different cycles. It takes more cost as well as it increases the time. Now, if you are making any changes, it increases the maintenance also. So all these are problems with the current native form. And when you go with web, you again go with the same structure. You have to update your native apps. Now, as I mentioned earlier, each of these require individual developers. So if you are looking for Android app or iOS app, you need an iOS developer. If you want to update your Android app, you will go for Kotlin developer or Java developer. And then for web version, you will have someone who knows Node.js or JavaScript, you will hire them. So you need to hire three people, which increases, again, release cycle is also increases. And currently companies are looking for agile environment, which is like a 2 weeks release cycle. In that 2 weeks, you need to build and release the product, and it will be very difficult with the native apps. As I said, Facebook started the web app approach along with Ionic. It got popularity, but because of the speed in the apps, it didn't click that much. It started in 2012-13 initiative by HTML, CSS, and JavaScript-based HTML, and many players jumped into that. Now, with that approach, there's like Xmarine, Cordova, Ionic, PhoneGap, React Native, JavaScript, then Accelerator. All these players started building the apps in the web format, which you can save as a shortcut, and then you can use them as an app. There is another player which is Electron, that's again getting popularity, but comparatively Flutter, it is not that popular. But again, it also provides a lot of benefit. Now, all these hybrid approach provider, React Native is the most popular among the developers as well as industry right now, because all the Instagram and everything is built in React Native, and it is backed by Facebook. So Facebook app as well as Instagram both are built in React Native. So they get more developer support in that. Ionic, as I said, was popular at one point, but it is losing its popularity because it cannot communicate with the hardware of the phone as the native apps. So it lags in the performance. There are a lot of issues around that. So they are not getting that much popularity. Now, what is Flutter basically? Flutter is nothing but another programming language, or you can say a product by Google, which is an open source product, which provide you a platform to build application across everything. Means you build one application that will work on computers, it will work on Android, it will work on iOS, it will work on Mac operating system, it will work on Linux, it will work on the web, it will work on TV, as well as robot, embedded system, or even the car info system. So one platform can work on everything. Right now, it started in 2017, the initiative, and within 2 years, it reached high popularity among developers as well as many companies. So that's why you don't hear that much about Flutter, because it is still in the initial phase right now. And there are key players who are using it, and not everyone adopted yet, because they want to see how it goes beyond, because Google sometimes launch many products, and after a few years it might goes back. So they don't want to invest immediately there. But looking at Microsoft and Google's push for Flutter, it is gaining a lot of popularity. Now, Flutter is not actually a language. Flutter is a platform or architecture, you can say, which uses behind the scene a Dart language. A Dart is an open script language, which is similar to JavaScript, or even you can compare Java. If you know Java, it is fairly easy for you to learn the Dart language. The only few syntaxes will be different from there, but it is the packages and everything, the way you import and everything, it is pretty much close to Java. So if you learn Java, it is very easy for you to pick up the Dart language. Now, Flutter also provide Google its toolkit. Google it is backing it. All the Google apps are being built in Flutter. You see the UIs and database, everything is managed by Google. So Google Cloud support, everything is pretty easy. So that also helps Flutter. Now, what are the key feature and why developers are choosing Flutter? The first important part in hybrid apps was they were lagging the speed. When you have a native app, it was pretty fast comparatively the hybrid apps. Best example is Flipkart. Flipkart is built on the hybrid platform. When they launched it, they went for a hybrid platform for a few days. I think in 2016 or so, they said that they're gonna discontinue their native app and they will go for the web mode. But after going in that route, within few months, they have to disable, they have to discontinue that plan and continue the native support, because the speed and performance they were getting with the app version or web version was not as good as native. So that's the key area Flutter is fixing, because you get a native app here, the speed and performance is far better than other hybrid model. Now, flexibility is another part where in hybrid, again, the other modules like React Native and everything, you need a JavaScript knowledge, and it's not easy for you to build those app like icons and everything in that. Now here with Flutter, those things are far easy. It gives you more control of like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi network, everything. That control is more for you, which gives you more benefit when you are building any app. The look and feel, as obviously I said, it is native platform, so look and feel is far better comparatively what web app gives. And another benefit is less time to market, because app development is fast. Your apps are getting faster update, and they are getting released fast. Now, Flutter is basically have lots of widgets. Now, each of those widgets are nothing but modules, which modules are already built by Google, and you just have to use those modules in your code, which makes it more faster. So many of you might already know that there are lists, then you have buttons and everything. Now, all those things, Flutter already gives you all those things. What you have to use is you have to change the color of those lists, or you have to reduce the size, and you have to reduce the different font or color, everything. Those are the only thing you need to do. There are already widgets are built by you, by Google. You just have to utilize them. So that makes development again more easier for you guys, and it makes it more nice app for you. So you can see the time is getting reduced, which we spend usually in the JavaScript, we spend more time, so that time get reduced. Now, again, Flutter, as I think I already covered that, but these are the few unique feature. Flutter is using the binary, it can easily compile on the binary code. That's where, as I said, if you are buying a Toyota car in future, that Toyota car infotainment system is nothing but in the Flutter, because Toyota is using Flutter for that. Now, several times that like players like Samsung or Xiaomi or anyone, they block the OEM. Those are the OEMs. So they block few features to their apps only. So those kind of reliance won't required in Flutter. So you can simply connect with any hardware which you want with Flutter, because it is written in C, C++. Behind the back, it is using C, C++ engine, so it makes it more easy. As the performance, there is no JavaScript involved, so there is no bridge required, which converts the Java or other code, and then it converts into JavaScript and build a hybrid platform for web. Though that is not required. So those are things which are not. Another feature which all the developer like is hot reload. Now, what is hot reload basically? When you are building any app, when you change any font, what current system does, or any hybrid or system does, is you need to compile the code completely again to see your changes. But with Flutter, you don't have to compile your code. When you save the changes, it will immediately reflect, which is like saving every time you are building your code, it is saving 5 minutes of your time. So imagine if you are making multiple changes, every time you are doing in other environment, it will load all the binaries, everything, it will compile your code, it will build, and then it will install on the mobile app, and then you can see your changes. But with Flutter, the hot reload feature, it is more faster, and you can see your changes immediately. That's one of the reason more developer like that, because they can do the development faster. Plus Google support is pretty huge for Flutter, like Google Pay, all those apps are being built there. They are supporting it at a higher level. I already talked about the Dart language. So Flutter is using Dart, and that together makes it a better solution for the market. Just 1 second, guys. I just need to All right, sorry guys, I just had to get some water. Okay, so far we talked about Flutter, React Native, and everything. Now, what are the key differences between the other platform versus the Flutter and Dart? Basically, the Java current support is the main advantage of Java is it supports all Android app version. It doesn't whereas Flutter can only support from 4.1 version of Android OS and beyond that. For Android also, it is same thing. It has limited support on 8+ version. The older version cannot be used in that. But if you look at the market share, only 1 or 2% devices are using those operating system. So it's not that big difference. That's why people are not worrying about that much. Now, language, Flutter is using Dart. Kotlin uses JavaScript and native. Java is using JVM, whereas React Native is using React.js and JavaScript. And these are the another which we already talked, that the performance-wise, it is far better than React Native, whereas other language. The only problem with this performance right now is that there are a lot of issues, means you can call bugs right now in the system because it is new. They are still in an enhancement mode. So if you compare with Java, there are few bugs which are being worked on, but it is still in the higher adoption rate. The user interface is far better comparatively. React Native is, if you're a web developer, it is easy to build app in React Native, but Flutter is easy to use. It's moreover like a drag and drop. If you guys have ever used VB Visual Basic in past, we used to drag and drop the buttons and everything. Flutter provide that kind of development and support, so it's far easy comparatively other platform. As other topic I talked about specific advantage, the hot reload feature is one of the key feature which liked by everyone in the industry. The other platform also have few features, but the Flutter's main feature is hot reload. Now, all these numbers means I am presenting some topic, but that doesn't mean that really it is getting adopted in market. So without any numbers or any analysis, you can't really say that, okay, really Flutter is popular or React Native is popular or any other language is popular, because all these are language. There are few people supporting Java, few people support React Native. So you cannot, that's like a debatable topic. But what you can see is that in 2019 to 2020, the React Native started by Facebook in 2013, whereas Flutter started 4 years after that. But if you compare the market share, 40% developers are preferring React Native. In 2019, 30% developers were preferring Flutter, but in 1 year, it changed to almost 40%. So you can see the market share is getting decreased for React Native over the year. And once Flutter start full-fledged development in different platform, you can see Flutter share getting increased. In the same way, if you look at the other platforms like Cordova, Ionic, and Xamarin, all those, they're losing their market share to Flutter because the developers are moving from these technologies to Flutter, and that is costing them too much. So after like maybe 4 or 5 years, you might see those negligible people are using that. There are few communities where you can see that GitHub tries to find out how many open source developers are using, how many discussions are going on that. And if you look at that Flutter and React Native discussion, you can see that Flutter is gaining age day by day over React Native for cross-platform development. And these are the numbers which says that, okay, 100K developers are earning the stars on their daily discussions. There are 23K commits in 2020, comparatively React Native's 22 commits, 22K. Now, there are more 63K people are watching the React Native, and there are around 44K people. So these are few numbers which tells you that, okay, it is gaining popularity. Right now, if you look at the market, you might see that, okay, no, this is still new, but you have to jump in when it is new. If it gets popularity, if it reaches the high period, and then you start working on it, you might not find better opportunities. So you need to start early in these technologies so that you can find better jobs actually. Now, if you look at the Dart popularity, again, these are the 10 most popular programming language: Rust, TypeScript, Python, Kotlin, Go, Julia, and Dart is again on the 7th number here. And if you look at the Apple's core programming language, Swift, it is behind Dart, and even the JavaScript is behind that. So it is getting more and more popularity over the year. It's just that within few years, you can see that all these will be behind, especially like Python, all these technologies, as more and more support will come. Now, all these things are doesn't make any sense unless we see that, okay, who's using these apps or who's building apps in Flutter. Okay, first, if you look at here, there are a few comparisons, like React Native, as I said, started in 2014, so it has advantage, and there are few prime apps built on that, like Instagram, Netflix, Amazon web version, which is Amazon India, I guess, is built on React Native. Uber, Viber, and Pinterest, those are in the React Native. But within 1 year, you can see Flutter is being used by Alibaba, AliExpress, all those are built in Flutter. eBay is built in Flutter. They converted their complete native code into Flutter. Then Groupon, Capital One Banking, all those are using Flutter. Now in India, if you look at, there are a few popular apps. Dream 11, I think you guys might be playing the Dream 11. I think that is some franchise. I don't know much about that, but I think that's pretty, I see a lot of time that ad. So they are using that. ByteDance, which has made TikTok app, they are also started using the Flutter. So soon they will have the Flutter version of the app. Abibus, which is like South Indian developer, South Indian, I think like Redbus kind of service, which is using Flutter. Philips Hue, all those smart lights are using Flutter, and Indian Post for speed post tracking also uses Flutter. Earlier, I told you guys about Toyota. Toyota's all the infotainment system, that also is based on the Flutter language. So you can clearly see the popularity among the industry and developers in Flutter. You cannot compare them with the older player or native apps, but as and when these big tech companies start investing in Flutter, you will see more and more apps. Majority of the Google apps are being built in Flutter now, like Google Pay, Google Shopping, everything is in Flutter. Now, why Flutter is getting more popularity is not just hybrid mobile app development. Google Flutter is also being used as an alternative to the key apps which are built in Linux, iOS, or Windows. Now, with Windows 10, you have Windows Microsoft App Store. Those are still built in .NET or VB or any like Java, Spring, all those platforms, which are pretty old. Now, what Flutter is doing is Flutter working with Microsoft, Mac, like iOS, Apple, and Ubuntu to build all these platform Flutter as their core platform. So recently, if you look at the recent news, that Flutter is the official Linux choice to build their apps. So whatever in Ubuntu apps you will see, those are all built will be in the Flutter in future. Microsoft launched a folding phone that iOS is also again supported by Flutter, and they are focusing on the Flutter in that. Now, iRobot, these are the vacuum robot or hardware embedded system electronics product. They are also started using Flutter. As I give you example, Toyota's infotainment system, which is again car-based infotainment system, that is also using Flutter. So you can see the popularity is among all the platform, and you can imagine after 4 or 5 years, you don't need any other language. Everything will be built in Flutter. It will save a lot of money for companies, and the development cycle will be pretty fast. Now, how does Flutter achieve that? Because we talked about various factors that, okay, Flutter is supporting that, Flutter is doing all these things. How does they do that? The framework for Flutter is based on the Dart. Now, if you look at here, the framework is divided across 2 main areas. One is material design, and the other is Cupertino device. Now, architecture. Now, what these 2 architecture are? Material is used by mostly Android. So whatever you build in Android, they are using material design. Whereas iOS uses Cupertino. Now, all these, whatever apps are being built, they have to follow this framework in development, which gives you all the UI, color combination and everything, all those inbuilt feature of that Apple or iOS, Android framework. Now, after that, there are widgets, rendering, animation, painting, gesture, foundation, all these things are embedded into the Flutter architecture. Now, these things you can edit basically. These things can be controlled by you guys, or whoever is developer. They can edit or update all these things or build their apps around that. Now, behind the scene, they are using C++ language, which handles the protocol, all the channels, system, hardware, everything is handled by that engine. And then there is a embedder platform which renders surface, then plugins, all those packaging and everything is again done. So these are the 3 key components on which Flutter is built. Whatever as a developer you work on the green component where you build all your UI widgets and everything. That is where you work on. The engine and everything is what Google works on. They build all that technology to you, and you can utilize them in your framework in the first section. Now, I already explained you that all these things in the green you can change, like animation, painting, gesture, foundation, all those things like scrolling, everything you can change. And behind the scene for Apple, it uses different engines. So Flutter converts those into different engine. For iOS, it will convert that code into different format. For Android, it will convert into different format. So that will be done in the C++ language. Now, when you are building an app, you have native code, then you have widgets, then you have platform channels. Why native is so popular? Because these platform channels are integrated heavily with native apps easily, plus they get faster communication. An example would be when you're using a React Native app or web app and you try to launch a camera, there will be a delay of milliseconds. Let's say if you use a native app, it will open in 2 seconds. But if you open a hybrid app, which might take around 5 seconds. So there is a 3 seconds delay in that native versus hybrid app. So Flutter tries to fix those things, and that helps a lot when you see the performance of the application. Now, why you see Swift language is that popular? Because Swift communicate with these devices so fast that you don't see any delay, and that's why the iPhone is more popular comparatively Android, because Androids, you see that delay happen there. Now, we talked about widgets. Now, what are widgets actually? Widgets, if you call about Java terminology, widgets are nothing but functions or structure, or you can call it classes, which you can use in your coding. Okay. Now, there are predefined things. Flutter says that you should use stateless widget for any images, text, or any you're typing any text, or you want a button or anything like those things. If you are using those things, use stateless widget. So because what the stateless means is that your app state is not fixed. It can change anytime. You can, when you click an animation, means you're building a game, the screen is changing pretty fast. So you should use stateless widget for that. Now, if you are using like scrolling function, or if you are using a newspaper app or anything, the text is fixed, or you are using any animations, the animation is fixed. You're not, that's not a dynamic data. So you should use stateful widget so that it can scroll, you can zoom in, pinch, all those things can happen easily there. So as I explained earlier, in stateless widget, you can build many things like 10 text boxes, different text or anything. Whereas in stateful widget, you just create one object, and inside that object, you create multiple things. So both works in same way. It is not necessary that you should use stateless. You can use both stateful widget for everything, but your UI experience is not that good. That's why they say that, okay, if you're using something, let's take an example. If you are building an app which only have like 3 items, and if you provide a scroll bar to the user, they will not like that experience because you're not using proper framework or proper methods. So they're saying that, okay, when you're building the app, you decide which widget you want to use, and based on your application, use that. Now, there are multiple layouts in Flutter. One is you can use list as a tile. Then you can use steppers, like you can see in multiple, like, okay, hierarchy, that, okay, first is nanicer, then capsisor, and all those kind of things. Then you can use divider among that. So these features are already there in layout. You just utilize them in your code, and that makes it more flexible. Like dialogues, alert, these are predefined. You just call that functions, you pass your text, you pass the actions you want to do that, and those things will be pretty easy to build. Now, these things, if you have to build in Java or any other language, you need to write your own code. That makes it more easier. Now, there are a lot of libraries, packages already available in the market for Flutter. If you go on these Flutter gallery, you can see already inbuilt packages or small projects built by many developers, which you can get started with. Then there are Flutter packages which are being used by developer. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a small example how the Flutter app works and how they are being used. Okay, so I'm going to start the sharing of new. Okay, so I hope everyone is able to see my screen. Is my Visual Studio screen visible to you guys? Arvin?
Yes.
Okay. So to get started, let's say we want to get started build a Flutter app. So there is a basic instruction I have provided in PPT, the URL where you can go ahead and get the starting steps like installation, jars. Any questions?
Dear student, please mute yourself. That will not help. Disturb to the other lecture. Okay. Pratiksha, please mute yourself.
All right. So when you start, you can see that when you are building an app, you start with the Flutter create. So let's say we can say Flutter create AC demo app. Now, what Flutter is doing here is it is creating all the required binaries, all the code or all the handles you need, the packages, and it is creating that app for you. If you look at the down screen, you can see iOS, Linux, Mac OS, Windows, all for all platform, it is creating all the required files. And once that is complete, your app will be ready. So now if I go and say, so now your app is ready. So I'm going to open that app in the workspace here. Okay. So if you look at here, what Flutter did, we just ran one simple command and it created all these binaries for you or all the required code for you. So your app is already ready. Your Android app is ready. Your iOS app is ready. Then your Linux app is ready, Mac OS and web and Windows. All versions are separated and they are created by Google, Flutter. Now, when you write your code, you're just writing your code in the lib folder where your main code exists. That's where you have to write your code. You don't have to worry about what Android folder is doing, iOS folder, other folder. You just build your app. Flutter takes care of everything and it builds that app for you. So now here, if I have to go and let's say I want to start debugging this in a Android emulator. So I have an Android emulator where I can say, I want to run this app. As I don't have a configuration, first I need to add a configuration here, which platform I need to run that. Okay. So when you are running it the first time, it builds entire set of data and then it is creating those platform, iOS, Android, all those files, required files, it is creating those files and then it is putting them under these folders. So if you look at Android folder, you see the Android app, it is building the Android app, it is creating all the required build.gradle is nothing but a package where you can specify which Android version you want to support. What is the compilation version, all these things you can specify for Android. You can see here minimum SDK. So now when you are building an Android app, you need to provide what version of Android it can support. So these are called SDKs in Android and you specify those here, and that if by default Flutter will take their own version, but if you want to specify something else, you can edit these files. Now these files are automatically created. When you are starting the launch app, it is trying to build those binaries and everything. And see here, you can see that it is building those Gradle files and it is trying to launch an app. So first time it will take more time for you, but it is trying to, okay. I'll keep this emulator open so you can see that it is getting built. So as it is loading, I can go over the different folder structure here, which you guys can follow. So when you are building any app, make sure you are creating everything under this lib folder. So if I have multiple pages in my app, I can say that, okay, I have web pages in say this. So I can say that, okay, my home page need to be here. So I can say like, okay, homepage dot. So all that will be inside that home page and everything, whatever you're doing will be there. Now, if you have common methods, those will be under that. Now, as this is a test version, you might not see everything, but I can show another app, which is like app which I'm building or I'm using that, you can see here there are core functions in the app which can be managed under core. There are models, different models, like if I have a design which I want to follow for all the buttons, then I can create a model, and that model can be accessible across all the different applications. Now, if you have different pages in app, then you can have all those different pages here. All these pages can be managed separately so that it is easy for you to handle your code. Then if you have widgets, like alert, you want to format your alert in a different way, that okay, it should be a red color, or it should have some different design, rectangular, circle. You can define those things into widget section. So as a developer, we usually follow these structures so that it is easy to maintain that code overall. Okay, let's look back to our app. Still taking time. So I think meanwhile, we can just make few changes here so that we can try the web version as well in the same app. Okay, so you can see now it took a long time, but it built our APK, and now it will get launched. So it's trying to install the app now on this device. And you can see now it launched the app. Okay, so you can see here the app is now launched here. Now, it was really easy. You can see how easy it was to build an app like this. In few seconds, once you install Flutter and everything, you just run few commands and your app is ready. Now, this is an Android app, same iOS app. What you are doing is just changing this run configuration, and it will take that. Now, you remember why I told you guys why developer likes Flutter more comparatively other languages or other things, is that hot reload feature. Now, if you look at here, I'm making the change in the application, okay? And I'm gonna ask this hot reload. So if you look at this flash icon here, this is nothing but a hot reload. When I do this, it is changing my app immediately. And you can see AEC demo here. With the native or other application development, these features doesn't exist. So what it takes is you saw how much time it took for us to compile the complete code, launch the app, and it took almost 3 to 4 minutes for entire process. So hot reload avoids that process, and that makes it more easier for developers to build application in faster environment. Now, this is a web platform. Now, same thing as I showed you guys that, okay, we have a configuration for web also. Now, this can be similarly run on the web platform as well. So if I close this iOS, now when I launch this app, it will start the web version of that app. So it will launch a Chrome browser, and then that will be a web version. Now, if you look at here, it actually chose Windows version to build the application. So it is building the app into Windows instead of Chrome. So this is how the different version will be working, and you have option in the configuration which you can use for different versions. And you can set up here which all version you want to use for your application. Okay. Now, all these things I know, that's why it is easier for me to explain you guys. But as a student, you don't know all these things, or you don't know how these things works actually. So how do you get started with Flutter, or what all things you need to do to start. Okay, so let's start with the basic things like how we can get started with Flutter. Okay, so I'm going to change my screen to now a different website. Okay, where I have a browser. Okay, so when you start, the first thing you will be doing is Flutter. If you go to flutter.dev, you can see the all installation steps for the different OS. If you are using Chrome OS, Linux, or everything, you can see those different steps. You first install that version, and either you can use Android Studio or Visual Studio. I like Visual Studio more because there are more developers supporting that. So you can use that, or you can use a different version as well. Officially, Flutter supports both Android Studio, so you can find the steps whether you want to use Android Studio or whether you want to use a different version. So you can see here our app, we started in a web mode and it is launched now. You can see the web mode. Now, if I see this AEC demo, if I want to change this again back to something else, and if I say hot reload, it will immediately make that change. And you can see here AEC demo 2. Now, if I want to change anything else, you can make those changes here. So that hot reload is really helpful when you are developing these apps. Now, going back to the development, you first install the Flutter, then you get all the Dart plugin. You can get those plugin installation and setup details here. Let's say if you want to do it on Windows, you can find all the information. That first download the SDK. Then once you download the Flutter SDK, you need to update the path and everything. All follow these steps and run the Flutter Doctor command. What this command does is it tells whether your system is ready for Flutter application or not. So if I go here and say on my terminal, Flutter Doctor, so it tells me what all versions I have installed and what all things are ready. If anything, it tells you that it is not ready or you don't see this green check mark, that means you still have to go ahead and fix those issues before you start anything. So you can see here our current Flutter on my system, it supports Android, Chrome, Visual Studio Code. All those devices are connected and they are all in a good condition. Okay. Now going back here, once you do that, you can test and then you can start with write your first app. We saw the one app which we did just now, that was one app, but here you can see a list-based app which you can create like for AEC. Let's say you want to say student names, like who all students are there in each branch. So you can create something like that app here. Once you're done with those basic apps and everything, you can go to the more advanced. So there is a website called Gallery Flutter, okay, where you can see a different version of app. Okay, here you can see that, okay, what are the different app bar options I have? So you can see these app bars. Okay, I want to add a search icon. I want to heart on that favorite. I want to build this app bar. So how do I get started? So you can see all those documentation here, which you can use. Simply copy that code into your app, or you can understand what exactly they are doing. Okay, here you can see the simple code here, and then if you run that code, it shows you all those things here. Okay, so Flutter documentation is pretty strong. You just have to read the things and implement those things into your app. Okay, now there is another thing here, is Flutter packages. Okay, now what packages are actually? So let's take an example. I think someone also asked, how do I do backend connectivity? Or let's say backend connectivity, I think they mean is how do I connect with YouTube? Okay, so if you go here in pub.dev and search for YouTube player, okay, what this gives is, it is giving you a player, a package which already exists in your code. Okay, and there are like different developers have different packages, okay? And they give you example how to use that package, okay? You can see the package here, you can see the code, example code, and you need to use that code in your app, okay? That way you will be using that. Now, if I show you an example, here I have a package where I'm using the same thing, that I'll be showing some video player. So I'm using this package in video player, and that package being used like this. So I got one package, this YouTube player, and then it is a stateful widget. All this code, I used it from that example, and then I wrote my own code to write my app, okay? Now, how do you get these packages into your Flutter code, okay? So when you're going this pubspec.yml, this is similar to what Java does. So when you're doing anything in Java, you add the jar files. This pubspec is similar to that. But here you're not adding a jar file. What you do is you go to this package website, you find out what package you want to import. Like if you want to import YouTube package or music player or anything, you can see the examples here, and you see the installing step, okay? You see that installing step, you copy this dependencies and you put that in your code, and that will import all the required file here, okay? So if you look at here, it has already defaulted one, and when you try to save, it will get those packages, whatever you need in your code, so that you can utilize those. So these are the helpful, two helpful, one is the gallery where you can see example, and pubdev where you can get the packages. Another place is medium.com, where you can see a lot of people wrote examples how to get started with Flutter. They have basic examples. So the way to start is, first you get your idea, what exactly you want to build. Then you look for the examples, and then first copy those examples, and then start building that, and you can start working on that. You can definitely, it won't be straightforward. You have to make changes, everything. But the documentation is so strong that you can learn it pretty easily comparatively if you are building an iOS app or Android app in a different platform. Okay. Now, going back to the presentation. Okay. So I already provided all these information here in the presentation. So I think your sir will share with you. You can, as I explained, you can use different IDEs for that. Visual Studio and Android Studio are open source and popular, so I would recommend using them. But if you are familiar with any other, you can use that. Now, how's the job market for Flutter? Right now, Flutter is in initial stage. Now, if you do a simple search in Google and find out Pune, you can find thousands of jobs related to that in India itself for Flutter. Flutter is gaining popularity across the world. Right now, if you look at here, the more popular Flutter is across a different continent. So if you look at here, US, Canada, and the American region, you guys are able to see my screen, right? The web page I'm showing. Avinash?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, you can see here that all these countries which are in blue color, they are diverted towards Flutter for cross-platform apps. But if you look at these countries which are in red color, they are all still more focused towards React Native, and they are not getting diverted. So many times we see that, okay, why we people are so behind? Because we don't adopt the technology that fast comparatively other region. So if you look at US, China, and then other region, Ukraine, they adopted Flutter pretty fast comparatively other countries, and they are far ahead. if you go this packages, you can see that there are many people who are building those packages. Whereas if you look at the countries like India and other, Flutter is not that popular right now there. So it will take few years to get popularity. But if you guys start at this point, you will definitely get an advantage when you are pass out. Okay. Now, I think I already explained you guys, your teacher are the best resources, and you can reach out to your seniors who are already in the market for any information on Flutter. YouTube has a lot of video. When I started with YouTube. So there are a lot of videos available there to get started on Flutter. Then try different apps that will help you guys to learn more and more things. When you are in the third year or final year project, you can try building application with Flutter. For your college itself, like college website is built in a different technology. You guys all can come together, start with Flutter. So college will have a mobile app as well as they will have the Flutter website. So it will be like both purpose. Right now, college doesn't have an app, so you can start building your app for college. So that gives you an advantage when you are using Flutter. Now, I forgot to show you guys one more example where the embedded system come in picture. So I give you example for web, iOS, but at my organization, we are using Flutter for embedded system designing. So we work for the vehicle manufacturers like Honda, Toyota, as you guys saw the infotainment system, right? So similar to that, so I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, so if you look at this application, this is built in Flutter again. So my team has built this app, and we are using this app to communicate with the vehicle hardware. Okay, so behind the scene, this app is interacting with the devices hardware. Like it is working on the Windows platform, it works on iOS, it works in the web platform. All the platform, the similar application is used. Okay, now if you look at here, these are like right now Honda and Acura, two manufacturers are there which are being used, so they can use. Then there is a different diagnostic stuff they are using. So this is one of the advantage. You can see that these app built in Flutter, you get a lot of flexibility. You can interact with hardware as well as software together, and in one code base you can do a lot of things. Okay, that's all I have for you guys. I know there are like, this is new and you guys are not aware about any of these technologies, so you will have a lot of questions. So I think we can start with questions.
Thank you very much, Akshay.
All right, so I can see few questions are.
Hello, Akshay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Akshay, you are requested to kindly transfer the host to Dr. KH Verse, AEC logo, so that we can get the questions from the students.
Okay, so I will transfer the host back. 1 second.
Dr. KH Verse with AEC logo. Kishore Verse is there.
Yeah, I found it.
Yes. It was really a very nice session, Akshay. And I'm sure that students will know what is the difference between cross-platform development, what are the different currently available platforms like React Native or Xamarin or Flutter as well. Okay, so we will take some questions. Akshay, shall I read some questions which was there in the chat?
Yeah, we can go ahead through that.
Okay, one question from the Parth is there. Is it important to learn Java before coming towards Android?
It's not necessary. As I said, you can directly jump onto the Dart language, but as I said, Java and Dart both are pretty much similar. So whichever language you choose first, you will learn that, but you will by default learn the other language too. So it is not necessary for you to learn Java.
Okay. Now the another question is there from Manoj. I saw different directories in the project file like iOS, Android. Is Flutter building application simultaneously for cross-platform or need to build separately for different platforms?
Flutter is taking care for all platform, as we saw, right? We have a directory for Android, we had a directory for web, we had a directory for Linux, iOS, right? For everything, Flutter is building all the code for you. You don't have to do any changes. By default, configuration will be set up and you can use that as is. But if you want to make any changes to those dependencies, like default, they have said that only Android version 4.1 onwards is supported. Now, if you want to say that, okay, my app should only support from Android 5 onwards, then you have to go to those directory and make the changes. But if you don't want to make any such changes, you don't have to do anything. It will be, when you are building that version, it is automatically creating those files for you.
Okay, means different
In
directories
some
are
cases,
there, but Flutter will. Yes.
yeah, in
Yes.
some cases, let's take an example. You want a location service. Now, for Android, there is a file called Android manifest. You need to go ahead and update and add a tag there that, okay, I need a control for location. So you go ahead and do there. Because in your code, you don't specify that I need a control. In code, you get the library. But for Android, it is required to specify that in manifest file. Same thing in iOS, you need to specify those things like notification control, all those like small things. When you are getting any package from that pub.dev, they will specify there that, okay, add this tag into Android manifest. So that way it will work on the device.
Okay, thank you. I think Manoj, you get your answer. Now, next question is, does Flutter have any testing toolkit?
There is no specific testing toolkit in Flutter. It is still in development mode. There is no JUnit or anything right now. There are few predefined framework or available in the industry, but there is no as such dedicated testing kit. You saw I'm using the emulator right now. That's what we are using at our organization for testing. We get the APKs and then we use those emulators for our testing purpose, but there is no as such by default or predefined framework for testing yet.
Okay. Another question is there. What is the hardware requirement of our system for Flutter development? Is there any specific requirement?
There is no as such specific requirement for hardware. You can run it on any hardware. It will all depend on how your system is performing. It might take 3 minutes on few system if your hardware is not fast enough, and it might run faster in other system. There is a disadvantage with Flutter. I forgot to tell you guys that Flutter right now is when you are building an app in native app in other platform, the size of application is small. But with Flutter, the size of application is pretty huge. That's a big disadvantage for Flutter right now, and they're working on it. The disadvantage is there because Flutter is being used as cross-platform. It generates a lot of files which are not really required for Android and iOS, which are required for Windows. But as those are being used in the same session, so it generates those files and that increases the app size. So that's one of the disadvantage of using Flutter, which they are trying to fix, but yeah, it's not yet fixed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any question from student side? You can type your question in the chat, or you can raise your hand so that we can unmute you. Okay, thank you, Akshay. Now I request our honorable principal, Dr. Nanay sir, for his concluding remarks.
Okay.
Nanay sir.
Thank you, Mr. Akshay. It was really a wonderful talk. So not only talk, but a nice lecture by you. I'm so impressed that I will invite you to be a lecturer for our institute, AECC. Okay, the guest lecturer. You explained it very nicely. I'm the least known person about this topic, but still I got some concepts clear about this. What is Flutter? What is that platform compared to other platform, and what are its features? What are the advantages over other platforms? Then what's the application exactly for developing apps and websites also? At the same time, you mentioned about job opportunities related with this particular Flutter platform. So really, really very nicely explained by you. And one challenge that you gave us, that is to develop app by using this Flutter AEC app. I expect that our IT department will accept this challenge and will very soon develop this particular app by using this Flutter. And really, really thankful, Mr. Akshay. I already appreciated your journey from Chickley to California. It's really wonderful journey. Same way you explain this particular topic with us. Really, really wonderful talk. And thanks, Mr. Akshay again. I'm thankful to IT department also who arranged your this webinar on this particular topic, CCC. Platform development, and really appreciate your achievements is becoming senior manager, particularly this information services. So really, it was a wonderful journey since last almost one hour and 20 minutes. Though I was not connected by video with you, but I listened all these topic, and since 1 hour I'm connected with this particular, though I am not connected with this topic, but still you kept me connected with this particular lecture. So that's really amazing thing with your lecture. So once again, I'm thankful for sparing time with us, at the same time guiding our students and inspiring our students. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.
With this, I would like to
It's always
pleasure.
It's always pleasure to do anything I can do for the college. I know from, like, I learned a lot from the college and teachers and everything, and it's time for us to give back to something to college. And I'm always open for anything. Any of these people who want to build any project or anything, they can reach out. Feel free to drop me email or anything. I'm sure I can find out whatever.
That's really an objective with this particular webinar. See, Mr. Akshay, because of this corona pandemic situation, and you are aware about that right now it's only online theory classes are going on, and students are missing with these practicals. So then we decided to open to have the exposure to this thrust area in technology. So then in each discipline, then we try to search this thrust area and then search for these experts from that particular area, and trying to have exposure to our students about these particular topics. So that's the objective behind this particular webinar. And I think with this lecture, we attend that objective. Thank you once again. With this, I would like to hand over to head of the department, actually, Dr. Kapse, for our topic facts. Thank you.
It's my great pleasure to propose vote of thanks. I am very much thankful to our today's speaker, Mr. Akshay Rudraksha, for being with us and share his valuable presentation. I am very much thankful from bottom of heart to our beloved principal, Dr. Arun Nani sir, to give this opportunity to organize this event. I am very much thanks to Dr. R.B. Mapari sir, Dean Academics, Dr. R.G. Kokate, Dean Admin, Professor Gurdasani, Dean R&D, Dr. Valse sir, Professor Mohor sir, Head of Department for his motivation and support. I also thankful to all teaching and supporting staff member for their direct and indirect support for the organizing this program. Last but not least, our students for attending this event. I am very much thankful to all students who has participated from last 1.5 hours. So I'm with this, with the permission of Principal Sir, I would like to declare this program is over. Thanks, thank you, thanks to everyone. Thank you, Akshay. Hello. With the kind permission, Principal Sir, I would like to declare this program is over. Now we are going to end this meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Akshay. Hi.
Thank you.